o'clock, it will give you much big value.
Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Candid every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. And thank you for sending me your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Thank you for your support. We have MR Venkatesh with us to speak about the latest findings in the Gyanvapi Mosque. And we are also joined by KN Ned, who has been following this case closely. Welcome to both of you. So, MR, we are very excited to hear you speak today because I know you've been following this case inside out. And there are a lot of people who have been following the news, but they don't have the complete story with them. And I know that how well you can put it in a capsule for them. So I'll just start with a small introduction of what happened today. The Gyanvapi Mosque case, the area has been sealed where the shivling was found. And the orders have been given that no one should be allowed inside by the Varanasi court. The 3-day survey of the complex being done by the commission concluded on Monday at noon with officials saying that the findings of the survey were confidential. A Varanasi court on Monday ordered to immediately seal the place where the shivling has been found within the Kashi Vishwanath Temple Gyanvapi Mosque complex and said that no one should be allowed within the sealed area. While accepting the application of the lawyer from the Hindu petitioners, the court of the civil judge, Ravi Kumar Divakar, said, District Magistrate Varanasi is directed to immediately seal the place where the shivling has been found. No person should be allowed to enter the place, which will be sealed. The responsibility for the security and custodianship of the place, which will be sealed, will be considered personally of Varanasi District Magistrate, Varanasi Police Commissioner, and the CRPF Commandant Varanasi. Now, MR, can you explain to the viewers what is this issue about this Gyanvapi Mosque?
See,
there is a petition filed where the petitioner and the priest sought permission to pray at Gyanvapi Mosque area. Then recently, 5 Delhi-based women filed a petition to pray at the Gauri Sringar at Gyanvapi Mosque area. Which petition court is considering this now?
Yes. Meena, what happened was everybody knew for probably so many years. When I say so many years, I mean 300, 400, 500 years. That this was a temple where Lord Vishwanathan was residing. Yeah. And it was destroyed by Aurangzeb and a mosque was built. And the mosque was not built merely, completely destroying the temple. A good part of the temple was kept on the ruins, so that it was supposed to be an indication to the future generation as to why and how the Hindus were dominated by the Islamic or the Mughal rulers. There was a message in that method in the madness. Now, several people have been trying to get it retrieved for the Hindu cause. But things did not materialize because of our brand of secularism. We have a very peculiar brand of secularism where we reject our past. And we believed, and Nehru believed that 1947, August 15, the intervening midnight between 14 and 15, we started with a clean state. The format in the hard disk was redone all over once again. We unformatted the disk and reformatted it all over once again. So we said that we will completely throw our past. And you will be surprised, Meena, what Nehru says on 15th August when he makes this tryst with destiny speech. I quote him. I quote, long years ago we made a tryst with destiny. And now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes which comes but rarely in history when we hold up from the old to the new. And an age ends when the soul of the nation, this is very important, Meena, and when the soul of the nation, long suppressed, finds utterance.
Yeah.
What is this long suppressed soul of the nation, which will find its utterance when you say from first, when the nation is going to be born only after you end your speech?
Yeah.
So that is why when we talk about India, Article 1 of the Constitution says India, that is Bharat. what is this Bharat? Bharat was, if Bharat is India, then what is India from 1947? Why was it not named as India during the freedom movement or something like that? People pledged their lives for Bharat Mata. They never said Indian Mata. Even today, in the Congress, which had a sham of a shivir in Udaipur, they also want to do a Bharat Jodo Yatra. They don't say India Jodo Yatra. The Bharat is what links me to the timelessness of this great piece of land. It links me to the rishis, to the epics, to the Puranas, to the Itihasas, to the temples, to the great religions of this place, the Buddhists, the Jains, the Hindus, the Sikhs, so many things, the great rivers, the great architecture, the dance, poetry, the type of languages that we had, all that is Bharat. And it is a reductionist one, just like you do, you have great books and then you have Konar notes for your exams. India is only a Konar note. It is a small piece of a pamphlet that has come about, and we are in the process of discovering our Bharat. Now, this has always stirred emotions within us.
Yeah.
And we could see in the Gyanvapi Mosque, which is the issue on hand, that there was a Gauri temple, Gauri Mata temple.
Yeah.
And it was inside the premises of the mosque, but just outside the mosque wall. And there were people who were praying it till 91. I'm not very sure what exactly was the position till 91, but after which I'm told that we were allowed, that the Hindu side was allowed to pray once a year.
Yeah.
And they agreed that we will pray for once a year.
Yeah.
Now, Fry ladies petitioned the court and said, if you consider that the Gauri Mata is there, and if you consider that the Gauri Mata is a Hindu deity, and we have a right to pray once a year, extend it to 364 other days of the year. Let us go and pray all the days of the year.
Yeah.
Now, the court, the Muslim side, I believe, represented it slightly in a difficult and a different manner, and they would not accept for this proposition. And they tried to tell the people that the Gauri Mata idol is outside the mosque or inside the mosque. It went on back and forth. And so what happened was that the court ordered for a videography and asked an advocate commissioner to go and find out the truth. And once having accepted the fact that they will look into this particular, have a look into this particular thing, what happened was that the Muslim side also said no, they should not embark on videographing here and videographing there. That was what went a couple of days back. And the court said, no, you do a complete videography and photography. I think they have taken 1,500 photographs, they have taken videography, they have done everything. Okay. Now it looks not only that, and I'm not privy to what happened today because I was not there, so I have not seen it from my own eyes. But what I understand from the press report, it's very fascinating, and it is also disturbing that a 12 feet long shivling has been found inside the mosque, which is having a sort of a well where people go and wash their hands and they what they call as wuzu and perform their ablutions before offering their namaz. Now the shivling was found to be deposited there. So I believe that the Hindu side has already moved the court and got a complete intervention of the court in terms of putting a CRPC intervention there, and they have gone inside the mosque. They have started protecting the evidences, and they have said that even I think going for the Muslim side to go inside and perform the namaz is going to be difficult from now on till the court looks into the matter. So long and short of it is that this discovery of the shivling puts the claim of the Muslim side dynamites it, in the sense there is no more a claim, because once you have an idol inside the mosque, you are actually doing an idol worship. It is no longer a mosque. So you can't say, anybody who says it's a Gyanvapi Mosque from now on stands condemned by the Islamic theologians. They will not accept it. Islamic theology will not accept that place to be a mosque. It is anything but a mosque. So the Hindu side will definitely put its claim and say that shivling has been discovered. The shivling is indicative of the fact this was a Vishwanath temple. And very importantly, you must understand that the Nandi was always pointing toward the place where the tank is. So the exact now you have another shivling, which Nandi is not looking into this shivling. It is actually looking that way, and obviously indicate. So this is no longer a cock and bull story. This is, the Nandi and the bull story, and wherein the Nandi goes on pointing out where the shivling is. So this is very indicative of the fact that for thousands of years, or at least 500, 600 years, we have been at the receiving end of the brutalities of the Islamic invasion. Time has come and put this nonsense, put an end to this nonsense. And like Nehru said, and Nehru, I am quoting Nehru repeatedly because he said that the long suppressed soul of the nation must find its utterance. Now, this is a chance. This is what we need to do. We have to see that the soul of the nation must find its utterance, and we must do it in the most dignified manner. We must do it without bloodshed. We must do it like a civil society, and it requires some sagacity on part of the Islamic society also to look into these evidences, and they must vacate the place pronto. They must do it forthwith. They must not dilly-dally. But should they dilly-dally, and I see the OICs of the world coming in and trying to tell us that they will not allow this mosque to be handed over, I think the courts must intervene. Yeah. And the courts must tell very clearly that, look, we will not allow this matter to precipitate like what had happened in the Ram Janmabhoomi issue. Yeah. I think a quietus has to be found. And there are people who come about and repeatedly tell that there is a Places of Worship Act. And we must say that, look, Places of Worship Act is not an impediment to tell us, what we should do with the mosque or with the Vishwanathji temple. And we must ensure that we get our piece of temple back, our history back. And come what may, the government of the land must move as per the law of the land and retrieve Vishwanathji Mandir for the Hindus at the earliest, probably even tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ned, you had a question for MRV?
MR, can you tell us what is this Place of Worship Act and see how it was applied in the case of Ram Janmabhoomi case, and also how it is going to be applied now?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. The Places of Worship Act was brought in the year 1991, and it says an act to prohibit conversion of any place of worship and to provide for the maintenance of the religious character of any place of worship as it existed on 15th day of August 1947 and for matters connected therewith. Now, what happened was during the Ram Janmabhoomi issue, you will all recollect that there was huge amount of furor during those times, especially between, say, 88 and 91. Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated in May 1991. Then Narasimha Rao government came in by July. They came with a promise that we will not disturb the Ram Janmabhoomi issue. Let it be debated amongst both the sides, and if both the sides don't find out a solution, then it goes to the court and let the court take it. So we will keep it aside. But for the other matters, because the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, the RSS, and quite a few people at that time were repeatedly pointing out to the Gyanvapi issue, to the Mathura issue. And there are people like Sitaram Goyal who has pointed out, I think some people tell me around 2,000 such places of worship of the Hindus, which were demolished by the Muslims, and on top of this temple where mosques were built. So a quietus was sought to be given to all the disputes, excepting Ram Janmabhoomi, which is what was subsequently, it went to the court, and the courts found that this is what it should be. And that is where Ram was born. But nobody had anticipated, or at least nobody thought, that this will be the issue that will confront us 31 years later, But interestingly, I will, even as the Parliament was debating this Places of Worship Act on 9/9/91, I would like to quote to your readers a particular statement of a particular MP from the BJP, and I will name that person after I quote that particular statement on the Places of Worship Act.
Yeah.
That lady MP says, I quote, 20 days ago, I went to Varanasi to visit Gyanvapi, to which I have never been. At that time, it was raining very heavily in Varanasi. I went to the place totally drenched, where the temple of Vishwanath was demolished by Aurangzeb to build a mosque. Guides showed me the remnants of the temple, where the mosque was built by Aurangzeb. My submission is that I am not well educated, therefore I am not conversant with the rules and procedures of the house. So I do not know whether it will be proper to raise the issue or not as per the rules and conventions of the house. Even when completely drenched, I saw the mosque built on the remnants of the temple. Some sort of current of anger ran through my body. I felt disgraced at the fate of my ancestors, who I think were challenging my womanhood and asking me whether the intention of Aurangzeb was merely to build a mosque. Then why were remnants of the temple left?
Yeah.
Was not the intention of Aurangzeb behind leaving remnants of the temple at the site of the mosque to keep reminding Hindus of their historical fate and to remind coming generation of Muslims of their past glory and power? Now, this was during the 1991 Act, and the MP was Uma Bhartiji.
Yeah.
And she had raised this particular issue. Now, at that time, please understand, in 1991, this was supposed to be a grand trade-off that the Congress party wanted. That look, take the Ram Mandir, debate it, enter into some amicable solution, do a court solution, whatever it is. But don't try to enter into any other issues. Stop the entire debate. Let there be a full stop. Let Ram Janmabhoomi the only issue. Rest, we will stop it. But even then, at that time, you don't know, history has a very funny way of repeating itself or reminding us. Why should Uma Bharati of all go to Gyanvapi 20 days prior to 1991? Why should she bring about Gyanvapi? And why should I, of all people, go through her statement today and report to you? So these are all, sublime hand of the Lord. So you understand that these are all grand designs of the Lord on which we don't have to interfere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this warning was sounded even then, that the moment you start just scratching the very layers, just the layers of the walls of certain of these places, you will find the entire edifice of such places collapsing. And when it collapses, the Places of Worship Act will collapse. And when the Places of Worship Act collapses, the most fragile idea of Nehru, namely secularism, will also collapse.
Yeah.
So this discovery of Shivlinga today at Gyanvapi is not merely an issue of finding one shivling here on a dilapidated mosque which was built by Aurangzeb on the ruins of a temple, partly left so that the hegemony of the Muslim rulers then can be left for successive generation. It is not as simple as that also. It also tells us the fragile manner we have built this country for the last 75 years. And the fact of the matter is, we have built India, we have not built Bharat. And to build Bharat, we have to go back. And so consequently, let me make a bold prediction that the Babri Masjid demolition led to the Ram Janmabhoomi issue being settled.
Yeah.
The Vishwanath temple issue will be settled on the ruins of the Places of Worship Act. It will be settled the day the Places of Worship Act is withdrawn by either the central government or the state government passes an act, says that we want to exclude these places. So either Modi does it or Yogi does it. Whichever way, I don't know. But my hunch is even the central government is going to go for the jugular and withdraw the Places of Worship Act. The moment it is withdrawn, then the question what Narayanji asked comes in. Whether it stops with 1, 2, 3, 5, 40, 50, 100, we don't know. How many people are going to come with evidences and say that, look, my temple was destroyed, my village temple was destroyed, on the ruins of which a mosque has been built, and here you have the proof, and I'm sure it will open the floodgates for the Bharat that we all were looking forward to be redeveloped or rebuilt. So this is going to be the most important thing that is going to happen. Probably it may happen in the next 15 days, probably next 15 months. I don't know. But sooner it happens, the better.
Also, see, behind this also, MRP, there's another thing. See, when you look at the temples, like great temples like Padmanabha temple, and the Krishna temple in Udaipur, see, Krishna was actually taken, the statue was taken away, to hide it from the Mughals. And Padmanabha temple, they made it black. It was completely gold. They actually covered it with black, to make sure that they don't steal it. So it's also looting. It's also, trying to show us that we are nothing, So all these emotions come into play.
And even the Madurai Meenakshi temple, the shivling was vandalized. Yes. And even then, the vandalized shivling is available for you to see next to the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ned?
Yeah. I do not know how this shivling was survived for the last 350 years, though it was in a well, because everybody knew that it was there. So I do not know how it survived. And it is a Jyotirlinga.
No, Narayanan, you must understand, it is Lord Shiva. He knows how to survive. Yeah. So who are we to pass comment on how we survived?
Absolutely.
That he has survived itself shows that it is divine.
In fact, MRB, here I would also like to mention to the people, those who have not seen it, there was a small a piece of news in one of the Hindi media showing a huge black cobra that was found in the same site. And for a fact that wherever Shiva's lingas are found, there are always large number of snakes protecting it. And this is something we've seen over the years. So there is some connection between cobras and Lord Shiva. So it's as if to protect our our Shivalinga. So that's another very beautiful thing. But none of the media have said it except for one small Hindi media. Now going back to MR, now that the Jyotirlingam is found, it's no more than 400-year-old bullshit story that the priests at the time of attack by Aurangzeb saved the Jyotirlinga by putting it in the well, which is known as Gyanvapi. What is that we can look forward to from the court and the political ramifications on other sites like Krishna Janmabhoomi? Does it affect the secular fabric of the country?
Well, again, you would be surprised, Meena, that there is yet another very funny coincidence I discovered this morning, which is that you will recall that the Babri Masjid was demolished on 6th December 1992. Right? That was the day on which the Babri Masjid was demolished, and rest, as they say, is history. On 6th December 1948, the Constituent Assembly debate takes place. And can you believe there is a debate on secularism? Okay. And there is a speaker called Loknath Mishra. Yeah. He says, I quote, "Sir, it has been repeated to our ears that ours is a secular state. I accepted this secularism in the sense that our state shall remain unconcerned with religion. And I thought that the secular state of partitioned India was the maximum of generosity of a Hindu-dominated territory for its non-Hindu population. I did not, of course, know what exactly this secularism meant and how far the state intends to cover the life and manners of our people. To my mind, life cannot be compartmentalized, and yet I reconcile myself to the new crime." And then he says, "Gradually it seems to me that our secular state is a slippery face, a device to bypass the ancient culture of the land." 1948, 6th December. Can you believe? It is like, even a drama which is being written, scripted by somebody wouldn't have put this date so exactly
Yeah.
same. And this is today. I saw it today. We wanted to prepare for your program. I went through who has said what, and I found to my horror on 6th December 1948.
My God.
Somebody has warned us. Somebody who is sitting in the Constituent Assembly debate.
Yeah.
And believe me, there is nowhere have we discovered or we found out that the Constituent Assembly debating on the character of the state being a secular state. Everybody said secular state, and as Mr. Mishra points out, he believes it will be a large-hearted Hindu state, which will not look at its past. But exactly the contrary happens, that we were forced or compelled not to look at our past, and we started looking at 1947, August 15th as a cutoff date. We forgot our past and we started looking as if we are an amnesia patient. A country which suffers from amnesia, collective amnesia, to look at its past is condemned to be a third world country. And this is the renaissance that is happening. So we are now finding out whether India will be truly secular the way Nehru wanted it, or are we going to be what we want to be, an ancient land of Bharat. We are Bharatiyas, we are Bharat. We will give right of way to all the minorities. They will live here. They will live peacefully. But that doesn't mean that we become second-class citizens in our own country.
Exactly.
This is what secularism is not it about. We reduced ourselves to show that we were accommodating the Muslims, and we were so paranoid about it that we reduce ourselves to a second-class citizen in this country, even after independence. Believe me, Mina, you must understand, till 1947, the slogan for our independence was Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Yes.
Repeatedly, Mahatma Gandhi said, Rama Rajya. Never did he say, I will give you socialist, secular, democratic republic after independence. Mahatma Gandhi's clarion call was Rama Rajya.
Yeah.
And Rama Rajya is linked to this ancient land of Bharat.
Yes.
And that is, people may not have understood socialism, secularism at that time.
Yeah.
But they understood Ram Rajya. This is how the independence movement was sloganized. This is how it was taken, it was massified. It was taken to the people by Nehrus and the Gandhis of those days. It was not done by Savarkar. It was not done by somebody from the right wing. It was done by people within the Congress.
Yeah.
Whether it was Rajaji, whether it was written by Gandhi, Patel, Nehru, all these people used to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. Well, what happened after 1947? Suddenly we said we are secular, socialist, democratic republic, and on socialism. Believe me, there was a heated debate between Nehru and Ambedkar. And Ambedkar says, we bloody well don't impose our economic policies on the future generation. We will keep it as flexible as possible. And so secularism, as I demonstrated to you right now, was not even discussed in the Constituent Assembly. But at both these words, now comes the most interesting part, were smuggled into the Constitution during emergency. And what does Mrs. Gandhi have to say on that? Look at what is the official position of this. Just a minute, I will. It says that it is therefore proposed to amend the Constitution to spell out expressly the high ideals of socialism, secularism, and the integrity of the nation, to make the directive principles more comprehensive and give them precedence over those fundamental rights which have been allowed to be relied upon to frustrate socio-economic reforms or for implementing the directive principles. In other words, your fundamental rights to be read below the directive principles. Socialism and secularism were introduced. Today, what we are doing, after Keshavananda Bharati, after several of the judgments of the Supreme Court, we are now talking about the basic structure of the Constitution. And in the basic structure of the Constitution, we are saying secularism and socialism. But if that is the case, then the directive principles are to be read below, or should it be read above the fundamental rights? That is the question. Technically speaking, fundamental rights are to be read below the directive principles according to the statement of reasons and objects. Look at the mess that our Constitution is. And we don't want to look backwards to see what we were, say, 500 years ago, thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, our great grandfathers, our forefathers did a big mistake that they did not put enough security on the lavish grandeur temples that they built. It was a failure, but it was not their failure to get a great civilization moving. They never thought about barbarians that would be invading them. They never thought women will be raped, children will be maimed, men will be taken hostages. There will be conversions at the at the edge of the sword. They never philosophized barbarians coming into this land and invading us and treating us so cruelly. They thought the world over it will be equal amount of civilization that is going on. But unfortunately, our great forefathers did not anticipate it, and that is why they left a mess. And it is for us to clean this political mess. They didn't leave any other mess. They left a political mess. They gave a great civilization to us. But we have to be politically conscious, and this consciousness must pervade every Hindu, every Indian, including Muslim, Sikh, Christian, everybody. They must see that this history which has been distorted, this history which has been annihilated, a history which has been completely mauled, is rewritten. And not only rewritten, that is one part of the story, but actually put into practice. We must restore the Gyanvapi Mosque into a grand Vishwanath temple. And only then history automatically corrects.
Yeah.
By writing the 7th standard textbook, you are not correcting history. You have to correct history at the ground level.
Yeah.
And this is the beginning, and let us hope not only Gyanvapi issue is settled, the Krishna Janmasthan at Mathura. And you go there, Veena, you will find absolutely suffocating.
Yeah.
You see the grand mosque just a foot or two away.
Yeah.
From the Krishna Janmasthan compound. And a grand mosque oversees the Krishna Janmasthan, and we seem that we are hiding behind the staircase of a rich man's house. We are hiding behind the staircase. That cannot be the grand idea of India or Bharat. And this is not why we got independence. We got independence not only the ultimate person who handed over the baton was the British.
Yeah.
But our idea is to correct the historical wrongs of the last 1,000 years.
Yeah.
And that is what true independence means. And that is what you stay in life.
Yeah. Mandar makes a good comment. He says, the left ecosystem drowned voices who called Taj Mahal out as a Hindu temple, but 1998 onwards, as a BJP gained prominence, slowly the truth is coming out.
Yeah, see, I don't see why even in Taj Mahal, why the courts refused videographing. The Allahabad High Court refused videography of the Taj Mahal temple, and today I'm told the ASI has put in some pictures to show that there is nothing there and everything is clean and honky-dory. And I don't. If everything is honky-dory, why should the courts refuse? Of course, they gave a very technical answer. They said, "What is your fundamental rights that is getting affected?" Now, my fundamental right is that I belong to a civilization called Bharat. And if I find that every temple of mine was put to ruins or partially ruined by medieval invaders, I cannot actually build Bharat. Bharat is my civilizational aspiration. It is my destination dream that I should have Bharat in my, in the Committee of Nations. I should have Bharat. Instead, what I'm getting is socialist, democratic, secular Republic of India. Of course, this is a stop. This is a good stopping point, pit stop here. But my aspirations are more. My dil mange more, and we should have the aspiration of setting right. As Sitaram Goelji said, 2,000 temples, or somebody says 44,000 temples, or as I say, 40,000 temples. Of course, these numbers can be vary, but Government of India must pass an act, a positive enactment, that all those structures, medieval temples, medieval places of worship, which were destroyed by or alleged to have been destroyed, if proper evidence is provided, then the Government of India will step in and with the local population support will remedy those mistakes by building the appropriate places of worship. This should be the Places of Worship Act. This should be the ideal places of worship act. An act to enable. It must not be an act to prevent. It must be an act to enable the Hindu population to build temples or their choicest places of worship, and to say that, look, we will have these places of worship on all those disputed places of worship. Only caveat should be proper evidences must be put, and that must be, you can have high courts putting various benches. They must quickly look into the videograph, and once that videograph is over, the court must pass an order that, look, this particular place of worship was definitely destroyed by invaders, and consequently the local population is given a right to rebuild that particular places of worship, and this must be appealed with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, if it looks into it, must give a verdict in not less than 1 week's time. And if this is done, I think this will be the best thing that can happen to India in terms of rejuvenating herself in the Committee of Nations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ned, you had a question for MR?
Yeah, actually you mentioned about it, but still I would like to ask, so is this what Nehru meant when he mentioned Christ with destiny in his Independence Night speech? And is it what his dream was also? And I also want to know, what was Gandhi also a part of this? Or?
See, Gandhi became politically irrelevant around 1945. My guess is after Quit India movement itself, when it failed, 1942 onwards, Gandhiji saw the writing on the wall, and even amongst the congressmen, there was a lot of unease that the old man was becoming politically irrelevant. So Gandhiji, except from vague profanities, did not offer any specific advice on the way forward in terms of the constitution. Though there is a book by some Agarwal which talks about the Gandhian constitution, which Gandhiji himself has written a foreword. And that is all motherhood statements without any proper looking into various aspects. The Gandhiji was probably an idealist who did not have to deal with the mundane issues of dealing with all this very complicated subject. He was an idealist, he was a dreamer. So it came to Nehru, and Nehru had two choices: rebuild Bharat or rebuild India. Now, to his credit, I would put it across when I say Nehru, many of the leaders of those times, they could have chosen the more difficult, arduous path of rebuilding everything afresh. But after so many years of struggle, so many years of, somewhere incarcerated in prison, and somewhere, lost their life, they lost their prime of their youth, they were inside prison, and so on and so forth, lost their children, lost their brothers, lost their family members. They were, and then there was a bloody partition. So they did not have the energy. So they chose the convenient one of preserving the existing order of the British rather than challenging it and redoing it de novo. So they took a very easy way out. Let us preserve what it is. Let us continue. So instead of the Prime Minister of England, we'll have the Prime Minister of India. Instead of the Government of India Act, we'll have the Constitution of India. So we cut, copy, pasted. At that time, there was no Windows, but even then we cut, copy, pasted whatever was available and tried to, we were basically a Kam Chalau constitution, which means it is a transitory, temporary constitution. And we gave so much of, we padded that with so much amount of post-conclusive intellectualism. After the constitution was concluded, we started giving intellectual heft to it without realizing that the constitution itself was a very fragile document and that it could not stand on its own legs. And today, as we see, just a videography of a shivling is bringing down what is called as secularism, the cornerstone on the edifice or the cornerstone on which the edifice of your constitution is built. So just one small videograph, one small photograph has demolished your entire constitution. Where is secularism now? What is the state going to do? What is it going to do? It has no other option but to repeal the Places of Worship Act. And unfortunately, the Places of Worship Act was dealt with by the Honorable Supreme Court. And that was between the pages, somewhere in between pages 100 paragraph 70 to 80. And they deal with it and they say that, look, this attains some status of a gospel, or it is cast in stone that we cannot look into other places of worship. Fair enough. Now tell me, what is this place in Varanasi all about? Is it a Hindu temple or a mosque? You find shivling inside a mosque. In which mosque contains shivling? Which mosque contains Ma Parvati? Which mosque contains lotus? Which mosque contains Nandi? So this is no longer a place of worship of the Muslims.
And they're worshipping Shiva.
If they are worshipping Shiva, they are also idolaters. So it dynamites their very Islamic theology. So see, it was like skating on thin ice. And for 75 years, our leaders were doing it. Now, one after the other, the whole thing is exploding before their eyes. They don't know how to actually react to it. And this is going to be a huge challenge for the establishment, for the courts, because they have given so much pompous statements on this stupid idea of secularism. And they have shielded, if you are naked, you try to put so many things before you and try to project as if you are well clothed. No, you are actually naked. The whole constitution was built on thin air, and it did not have the intellectual heft of a Bharatiya. It was basically a cut, copy, paste. And you did what your colonial masters would have allowed to do it, and you did it for good measure. I also concede that. If I were in their place, probably I would have also done. If Narayan was there, he would have also done the same thing, because we have to continue of the mundane affairs of governance. So we can't think about it de novo. But the biggest crime comes somewhere in 1975, when secularism, socialism, all was elevated to some sort of a gospel in the constitution. Court said secularism is the soul of the constitution. It is the grand idea on which our forefathers fought over. The forefathers did not use the word secularism till 1947, when somehow or the other in the Constituent Assembly debates it was debated. Till such time, this word secularism does not come into the political lexicon. If at all it was being debated, it was only Ramarajya. But Ramarajya suddenly after 1947 disappears. See the very funny thing. See, it is like, Narayan, pardon me for saying this, supposing you love a woman, a girl, fall in love with her, and you marry her, then after marriage you start fighting with her. It is a paradox. After she becomes your wife, she starts fighting you. So you fight for Ramarajya, you get the independence, and then you say, sorry, I don't want Ramarajya, I want only secular Rajya. Now this intellectual dishonesty is so palpably manifests itself when you read the Constituent Assembly debates. And after 75, this H.N. Baguguna, Hemavati Nandan Baguguna, who gave this grand idea to Indira Gandhi in 1980, that look, you have done great mischief, you and your son during the emergency have done great mischief to the Muslims. So they would like to, you have to take them on board, you have to give them extra something. So you pad it up with the idea called secularism, and you try to bring it in. And this Jama Masjid's Imam was called in by him, and this alliance between the Congress and the Muslim really starts in the 1980. And after which VP Singh takes it to another level. And then from there on, all the regional parties, especially Lalu and Mulayam, take it to another level. Of course, the DMK in South has always been pampering the Muslims and the Christians. So this acquired the political landscape legitimacy somewhere in the 80s and the 90s. So much so that you were labeled as some sort of a terrorist if you actually talk about Ram Mandir, or you were talked about as if you were a primordial man. You are Neanderthal. You are primordial in your thoughts. You are completely out of sync with we are a modern socialist democratic republic. They would repeat it ad nauseum, and you were compelled to believe it. Otherwise, you were seen as somebody who would not have that intellectual gravitas to deal with modern India. That is why, to the eternal credit of Advani ji, he took all that we are talking today post facto in a very closed room and closed audience to the masses in 1991. The alternative political thought of secularism was a pseudo-secularism. I think the nation owes a grand salute to People like Advani ji, people like Uma Bharati ji, look at her clairvoyance. She talks about places of worship at, she talks about Gyanvapi, and 30 years later, the Gyanvapi bursts on the stage. Why should she go there? I still am unable to fathom why this happened. Why she should draw reference during the Ram Janmabhoomi issue to the Gyanvapi Mosque. So there is some spiritual hand that guides the destiny, the divine hand that guides the destiny of this country. And we want to disconnect ourselves from our past and we want to create our country de novo. That is not going to happen. And that is why Nehru's tryst with destiny is for the Bharatiya civilization, not for the secular socialist democratic republic of India. India as a quality is only a comma. Bharat is the full stop. We are moving from a comma to the full stop. And this transition may be painful, may not be painful, but it will be beautiful. This much I can assure people. It may be painful in the start.
Yeah.
Pardon me, ma'am?
Very well explained, MR. And I think there's enough material for another book of yours to come out.
No, there is enough material. But see, the problem is today, the attention span is between 2 IPLs only. Or 2 matches in the IPL. People don't want to read seriously. See, even for a program like yours, I had to spend 3-4 hours. 2 or 3 of my juniors had to. I told them, I distinctly remember these things. Of course, they got me all this material, but to go through it, understand what was the emotions that made people say this. Talk to some lawyers in Varanasi. Talk to some people who are my colleagues who are from Varanasi. Understand this whole issue. It takes time. So if you write it in a book, I can write it. It's not my issue. But there is nobody to read. That's where I'm at. That's also a fact. That today, and the ecosystem does not help you also. So you will have to write the book, you will have to edit the book, you will have to go and sell the book also. And also, market the book, sell the book, collect the proceeds. So it's a very torturous one. But anyway, my other book is getting ready. And this is a pun on Nehru, Discovery of Bharat.
Discovery of?
Bharat.
Discovery of Bharat. Okay.
Of Bharat. Nehru's book was Discovery of India. So I am writing a Discovery of Bharat. So we'll see.
Another question, MR. While we have beautiful temples in South India, some of them architectural wonders, when it comes to North India, due to invasion, most of them were destroyed. Don't you think we need to build more temples in North India?
Absolutely. In fact, I was explaining to my mother this morning that probably from Somnath in the western coast, you on the same latitude, if you go probably even up to Dhaka or even far east into Tripura, all the major temples above Ujjain were destroyed.
Yeah.
So Ujjain, the Tropic of Cancer line, which passes through Ujjain, will be the last place wherein we had temples surviving in the north part of India, south part of India. Northern part of Tropic of Cancer, you see huge amount of temples. Sometimes I wonder that how could a civilization have survived like this for 1,000 years without temples? It is again divine providence that our forefathers saw that they would have to fix various places like Ganga Aarti to go on. So you cannot destroy Ganga. So you had Ganga Aarti going on. You had Kedarnath or Badrinath somewhere far up. You hit it inside the mountains. Gangotri, Yamunotri, all this. So our forefathers were also very clever people. So they also knew that probably something would happen like this, and they protected us. But for this 2,000 kilometers from Ujjain to probably Sharda Peeth in Kashmir, 1,500 kilometers distance, and here you have 2,000 kilometers. You find the entire temples being destroyed.
Yeah.
There is no temple, like you will see something in Kashi, something in Ayodhya, something in Mathura, which are all an apology for a temple. I'm sorry, I'm using a very cruel word, but these are the grand temples that our forefathers built. So we have an onerous responsibility, And it is not that the South was insulated. There were attacks and we did pay, but we did not pay so much like the Northerners did. Southern side of the country did have its share, but nothing compared to what happened in the North. And much of us, we are blessed because of the tyranny of distance and because of the geography. We did not, our people did not see something like partition. We are in a way blessed souls. The northern part of the country saw something like partition, and to think about a Holocaust like partition, and wherein almost every other family in Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan had to face this. And I have seen some families coming from partition down to Chennai and settled. They are all Punjabis settling down in Chennai because they arrived during the partition. There are Maharashtrians who settled in south in Chennai because they came during the partition. The point I'm saying is that India has suffered, and North India especially has spilled enough blood. Time for North India to revive itself. When I say North India, I mean the whole of us must put our arms up and put our hands up and see that revival is done pronto. But North India, every single temple, let us begin with Kashi Vishwanath, let us go to Mathura, like that, let us chun ke karne ka hai. All these things, but in a very dignified, calibrated manner with the rule of law, we will have to do. But we can't have these places of worship act and say that we look backward up to 1947, and it can't be the Big Bang. Nehru's idea was that there was a Big Bang, and after which the universe came into existence. So in 1947, August 15th, after his tryst with destiny, there was a Big Bang and India was born, and so all the past was forgotten. So we didn't have a Big Bang. We had a continuum. We are something that has been continuing for thousands of years, and we need to go back and look back. Let's go backwards and see what is to be done. And the important lesson that we have to learn from history is that nobody will come to your help. We need to stand up for ourselves.
Yes. Ned, you had a question for Emma?
Yeah, so isn't it time we rename our country as Bharat, the original name? In fact, the Air Force One of India, it is written Bharat, not in Air India or anything. So is it a sign of things which is going to come?
I would say that we must bring about a simple resolution in the parliament to drop the word India.
Yeah.
And we must rechristen ourselves as Bharat. Bharat has got a resonance, it has got some antiquity, it has got some spirituality, it got some divinity, it has got some gravitas. It is like a Bharatanatyam dancer. India looks to be like a pub dancer. Okay, so I agree with you that we need to bring, and that is why I say discovery of Bharat. I don't say discovery of India would make you a Nehruvian.
Yeah.
You know that there is a past, but you want to be nihilistic about your past. You want to say, no, I don't want to look at the past. I know there is a past, but everything started from my tryst with destiny speech. No, India is not that way. So I'm very glad that you have made this suggestion that India should be called Bharat and only Bharat. And a couple of weeks back, our external affairs minister went on to say that we are a civilizational state. It's a brilliant observation. We are a civilization in continuum. So we are a state. Statehood is only secondary for us. We are secondary for us. The state government is residuary for us. We are a civilization that is more important for us. And we would
do great. BBC.
Please.
In fact, BBC Urdu and all refers India as Bharat only. And even some of the Pakistani media, see, they say Bharat, not India.
No, so they say Hindustan. They say Hindustan.
Hindustan and Bharat also sometimes they say.
Sometimes. Because they believe that you may say you are a secular country. They see you as a Hindu country. And that legitimizes themselves to be a Muslim country. And that legitimizes the two-nation theory.
Right.
Okay, so that is why they continuously call you as they are very clear. The problem lies with ourselves. We are confused about ourselves. We are confused about our history. We are confused about our geography. We are confused about our past. We are confused about our future also. Now, every country can be having a not so clear vision about its future, but it cannot have a muddied past. We are the only country whose past is unclear.
Meena Hindu is saying, even Masjid is built on Durga Mata temple. I don't know what name they call it.
Yeah, see, the whole issue is that there are some 40,000. Let's put the number aside because we can be wrong with the numbers. I don't know what sound is coming from my side, which is disturbing apart from my voice.
I
If
think
that is disturbing,
a little bit of disturbance.
okay. I don't know what it is. Now, as far as I see, there was a Durga temple, and that the Durga temple is perhaps destroyed, and probably a mosque was built. But see, I don't want to hurl any accusations without evidence.
Yeah.
But once the evidence comes forth, like you have some evidence, let us try to go about and put it in a court of law and get it. Let it stand the scrutiny of a court of law, and then we can take that forward. But as I said, restoration of Places of Worship Act is the need of the hour, and repealing the Places of Worship Act as it stands today is the need of the hour. So one law that stands as a that stonewalls the progress of the Hindus has to give away to an enabling law, which says there will be special courts that will look into it. There will be a very clear advocate commissioners who will look into all these claims, and it will be on a time-bound manner. Let us have 3-5 years where people can come and file a claim and say that this temple stood on this day, this was destroyed, and a mosque or a temple or church or whatever was built. So let it be looked into it and let them give a clear finding and close the matter. So I think a Places enabling act, restoration of Places of Worship Act is what we require.
Meena says, Venkatesh sir, miracle happened already when Gold Ratham came on Srikakulam shore without being destroyed.
Yes, that's what some people are telling. So I also saw the video. I don't know whether it is a gold chariot or what happened and what happened to that gold. I'm also interested in that gold because we should see to that nobody takes that gold for privatize that gold. So be that as it may, I think it's a good augury, and let us see what happens.
Yeah. Also, another thing important, very important thing, MR, is that see, each temple, whichever we've been seeing in south of India, each temple has the craftsmanship of that state. So that's why it's so beautiful and different. Each temple is so different. I mean, if you look at some of the ones that have been dug out, you can't imagine. I mean, were there such architects? Were there such craftsmen, who could do such things? It's amazing. I mean, unless you see it from above, you can't, make such marvels.
I'll give you 2 examples from the Tanjavur Grand Temple, or 3. First one, you all know that the Gopuram does not allow the shadow to fall beyond that sanctum sanctorum. That means they knew the Tanjavur's position. It will be north of equator but south of Tropic of Cancer. So though they know that the earth will tilt up to 23.5 degree during summer solstice and winter solstice. So all these calculations was done, and they demonstrated it there. The second one is that everybody who has built the temple, his name is engraved in the temple stone. So see the grand idea. Not only that, the dhobis who washed the clothes of those people who built those temples were also carved in the stones there. So you see the sense of participation in the society. That here I washed the clothes of a person who is actually helping in building this Brihadishwara temple. The third one is very interesting. It's sometimes, our forefathers were so brilliant. Now, in the temple there is a Dwarapalka. The Dwarapalka is to tell you that, he is supposed to be the bodyguard. And in all temples, idol of the murtis will be smaller, the bodyguards will be humongous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they will be standing with heft and all. In Tanjavur, since the Shivlinga is huge, the Dwarapalaka wants you, the man inside is huge. They put the right hand like this and they tell you, okay, the man is huge. Now that is not only interesting. You go and see their legs. A serpent is actually circling their ankle and the socks near their calf muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that serpent is actually devouring an elephant.
Oh.
See that then a serpent which is devouring an elephant, how big it should be, and it is nearly on the legs of the man who tells you that the Lord is huge. See the scale in one single frame, in one single shot, they have given you the scalability of the Lord. This is something, it boggles your mind so much when you see an architectural wonder and you see several temples. On a particular day, the sun goes through the 7 gopurams straight.
Yeah, yeah.
They have aligned it, that gopurams, and on this particular day, the rays of the moon will touch the shivling only one day in a year. These are amazing facts. Our temples are technology demonstrators. They are places where cultural melt point of the society at those days. There is huge flourishing of arts, literature, philosophy, debates. That is why our people preserved the temples, because the golden rule of Kshatriyas in India was, I would fight you as a Kshatriya, but I would never destroy or disturb the women, temple, the farmlands, the cows, the children, the places of learning, and also the aged people, the disabled people. So there was a very clear Kshatriya Shastra or Dharma that I will not interfere in certain places. We both can fight. That is why the safest place to keep all your precious science and technology was a temple.
Yeah.
It was like a bank. It was like that nobody will attack it because nobody dared attack it. This was the law of the land. Until Muslims started invading us, the Islamic invasion was directed at temples, the grand temples. Now see, we did not realize this barbarism. Prithviraj Chauhan was attacked 17 times by Gori. That means 16 times he was defeated. But Gori did not go after him and kill him. He thought him as if he was a mosquito and he was a nuisance. The 17th time Gori defeated Prithviraj, you know what was the story all about after that. Our entire history is built on this false stupidity, or I will say absolute stupidity, that we believe others are as cultured as we are, others are barbarians. The barbarians have to be dealt with in a barbaric manner. So you can't talk about the rule of law, you can't talk about all these higher values in life. You have to deal with it in the best possible manner using raw physical force. This is the important lesson of our history.
So it's been a wonderful session. Kannan says, beautifully explained by MRV sir on the Tanjore temple, mind-blowing. Priya says, wow, that's something profound, Dr. MRV. So, Ahmad, as we close this session, what is the advice that you give the government now, with regards to what's happened today and what is going to happen in the future as well?
I'm nobody to advise any government. So I will rephrase your question. What I can anticipate, I would like repealing of the Places of Worship Act. I would like a new law that enables the Places of Worship Act. It's an enabling law which restores Places of Worship Act. I want the government of the day to understand that we are a wounded civilization. We have survived as a civilization. That's the positive side. But we are very badly wounded. So to say that a secular state will be irrelevantly neutral between the Abrahamic faiths and the Hindu faiths in India, or the Indic faith, is doing great violence to a set of people who are already wounded and trying to place those who have wounded you on par with those who have been wounded. So the government of the day has to treat unequals unequally so that equity, not equality, will be the end game. So for that, the government has to jettison this idea of secularism. So the second thing the third thing, the first one was to repeal the act, second one was to bring the new act. The third one is to delete the words socialism and secularism from the preamble of the constitution, and we must declare ourselves as a constitution where the law of the land, the rule of the land is supreme, and it is with this idea we must go ahead. And I would only pray that today the government has got a majority in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha, and it is time. The mood of the nation is solidly with this government. We are thankful to the Almighty. We are also thankful to the magistrate of Varanasi who has ordered this videography. We are thankful to the videographers. Lastly, we are thankful to the Lord himself for giving us this darshan. He has manifested himself. He has thought that enough of time I have been sleeping and my rest is over. So Lord Vishwanath has come, and probably he will drink all the poison that may come about of the fallout. Let us leave it to him about the fallout. Let us do our job. Our job is to restore the grand idea of Bharat, and let us believe in Lord Vishwanath and go forward.
Yeah. One last question from Cheers Bloom. Sir, can you recommend some books to read on these architectural wonders of our ancient temples?
Sorry, I am no expert on this. This is
you need to Google that. Yes.
Yeah, you have to Google and probably talk to somebody who has some expertise on this. Mine is basically Bhakta's intervention in a temple. I have nothing. I don't look at temples as architectural wonder. For me, everything is divine there. So just like you look at your mother or your sister, everything is divine. So you look at it and also enjoy the divinity. That's all. So there is. I can't say that just beautiful architecture. For me, everything is divine in our temples.
Yeah. Sunanda says today's session gave me goosebumps. I'm amazed to know the facts and reality of our temples. So thank you, MR, on that note.
In fact, you have to visit the Madurai temple. And I will tell you, Sunanda ji, that you spend a week there, you would not cross more than 7 or 8 stupas. There will be thousands of stupas. Every stupa has a story. A historical fact, myth, so-and-so did, so-and-so came, so-and-so did, so-and-so happened. And every time I go to the temple, I find something new. So I would only say that please let us go to our temples and revive our past glories.
Yeah. Ned was there last week, I think a week before this, in Madurai Meenakshi temple also.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
I saw the damaged Shivlinga also.
Yeah. So that is the point, Ned. So up to south they had come, and it is really an amazing thing that we have survived this Holocaust. It was a Holocaust that was carried on for 1,000 years. It is a remarkable thing that we have survived and we have emerged. And it is a great providence that we have emerged. And if you believe that we have emerged and we have to be a secular emergence, I'm sorry, I'm not agreeable to this. I am seeing that there is a divinity, a purpose. India has to lead the rest of the world. And for that we have to be far more responsible and have faith in ourselves and establish ourselves to the outer world. And that can be done not by Indians but by Bharatiyas.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, MR. And
thank you.
Thank you, Ned. Good night.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you very much.
It's been a wonderful session.
Good night.
Yeah, you've spoken on so many things. And as always, and then for 2 weeks you suddenly disappear. And then we have to ask you, when are you coming?
Sure, Meena. See, the problem is my professional commitments takes me, and I don't give anywhere. If you see, I'm so passionate about whatever I do. So everything takes time for me, and that's why it is always once in 15 days is always better.
Thank you, and good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night, Ned.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.